name is Sheree Ortiz. I am the president of the Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement Board. We are also affiliated with the National People's Action, and we are glad to be here. And we are glad to be here with our sisters and brothers from the Center for Community Change. I'd like to first of all introduce you to a dynamic guy, Reverend Ryan Arnold from the First Christian Church, to say a few words.
Welcome to First Christian Church. It's our honor and our pleasure to host you today. We, through the years, have hosted a lot of groups like Iowa CCI and CCC, and you guys are among the many. In '59, the NAACP hosted right here and at this pulpit Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and through the years, with partnership with Drake University and other community organizations, we've hosted the likes of Eleanor Roosevelt, Chiang Kai-shek, Jodie Foster. You name it, they've been here. And so it's our pleasure to have you here, and I look forward to participating in this event alongside each and every one of you. We're going to be using the first, second, third, and fifth floor today. If you have the need of the elevators, they are there for you. Anyone that is physically able, we recommend and encourage you to use the stairs. That way we use the elevators for those who absolutely need them. There are restrooms on every single floor, and so feel free to use those. And if you need anything that I can make your stay here a little bit more hospitable, please do not hesitate to ask me or anyone with one of these little red tags. Thank you for being here. It's our pleasure to host you in Iowa CCI. Y'all have a great day.
Next to the podium will be our Des Moines Mayor, Mr. Frank County.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Des Moines. And as mayor of our city, I see one of our former city council members sitting right down here, and so many faces that have worked so hard to get so many things done, and at least hope to get things done. At City Hall and in our work that we do every single day, it's interesting that the expectations of our citizens are not that we are going to put it off to another budget year, wait to appropriate or whatever. If there's a pothole that needs to be filled, they want it filled right now. And it doesn't have anything to do with partisan politics. And as I look out here, I'm sure that there's people of every flavor out here in terms of your political background and who you support. But coming from local government and knowing what citizens expect of us, that we throw partisan politics away and we get something done. And I've had people accuse me of being a member of a certain party. And I said to them, I said, wait a minute. I said, when somebody calls me and they have a problem, whether it's a pothole or break an entry or a street light doesn't work or a sidewalk doesn't, is failing, or there's a leaky water pipe or a sewer pipe, I never asked them what party they were in to decide whether or not I was going to help them. We're there to help people every single day. And that's why I kind of like this title here, Real People Ready for Real Solutions. So do your work. Let's get out there. Let's talk to these candidates. Let's let them know that our expectations are you do something to help us all out, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, every single day. Thank you. Welcome to Des Moines. Let's get to work.
Yes, 1, 2. Okay. That's okay. I want to officially just welcome everybody today. This is going to be a great day because it's going to be a great day of fellowship, discussion, and learning. Today is an important day because we are here to lift our voices against politics as usual, because that is what is dismantling hope and economic security and justice for people and families across this country. Politics as usual has created a whole host of false prophets. with money and a lot of bravado that continues to throw snake oil on the wounds of the most vulnerable among us. But we have seen this before. Our history is scarred with the marks of land barons and corporate greed. So, we are here today to answer the call to action and rise up and fight back. We are here today to demand livable wages for families so that they aren't locked in poverty. We are here today to support families by advocating for sick days, fair working schedules, caregiver credits, so our seniors can live in dignity with caring family members. We are here today because we must support affordable childcare. It must be a priority because these are the children and the leaders of the future. We must demand increasing and expanding elder care, Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid. We need to demand expanding clean energy policies and rejecting any expansion to the fossil fuel industry. We need to rise up against mass incarceration that has created a corporate industry based on unlawful arrests and racial profiling. We must demand that corporations pay their fair share so that we have the resources to pave roads, build bridges and housing, and schools, and make college affordable. Today, as a collective voice, we must make it loud and clear that our democracy is not for sale to the highest bidder. It will take our heart, soul, and passion for justice to win. But we can do it because an uprising of righteous indignation is long overdue in the heartland and across this country. This is it. This is the time and place. If not us, brothers and sisters, who? Join me today with your righteous passion and resolve. And to quote the Reverend William Barber, who spoke at our 40th anniversary, you have to take the fight to a higher level. And I think we can do that today. We have the moral imperative before us to rise up and fight back against injustice. We have the power to do it right here in this room. So right now, we're going to lift our voices in this room. Are you with me? Repeat after me. We will stand shoulder to shoulder to fight the tyranny of greed and injustice. We will lift up our voices to fight against politics as usual. We will rise up and fight back. I say rise up, you say fight back. Rise up! Rise up! Rise up! Thank you for sharing your passion with me. We have lots of big-name doers and thinkers with us today that will be leading workshops and lead us as agents of change. So I'm going to introduce to you a few of them right now. Today, first of all, we have Wade Henderson, who is head of the Leadership Conference on Human and Civil Rights. Wade, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Good morning. Come on, let's get some energy going in here. Good morning, everybody. All right. I'm Wade Henderson. I'm president and CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. We are the nation's leading civil and human rights coalition. We have over 200 national organizations working to build an America as good as its ideals. Now, guys, I'm honored to be here today with you in Iowa. I took a plane last night at 10, actually at 11. I got here this morning at 2. But it was important for me to be here, and that's why I'm here. Okay, yeah, let me pull it up, guys. I'm sorry. All right. So I came really to honor you and to recognize the power that is assembled here in this room and in this part of the country. So let me first of all thank Reverend Ryan for bringing us in this morning. Thank you so much for opening up your church for this event. Thank you. I want to thank the mayor. Mr. Mayor, thanks for being here. You're the kind of politician who recognizes the power of people both in your community and around, so thank you for being here. I want to lift up, oh, Cherie was great, by the way. Wasn't she terrific in terms of, Cherie, you were fantastic. And I want to thank the Putting Families First Jobs Coalition, the Center for Community Change, ICCI here in Iowa, all the incredible work that went into making this effort happen. Guys, wherever you are, thank you, because you have done just an outstanding job. My buddy Deepak Bhargava, I didn't see Deepak on the program this morning, but where's Deepak? Is he here in the room somewhere? There he is over there. Deepak is head of the Center for Community Change, and this idea of the jobs campaign came from Deepak. Deepak, thank you so much for your leadership and for making this happen. Guys, when I walked in this morning, the energy in this room was palpable. I looked around and I was blown away. I was blown away by the large number of people who are here so early in the morning on a Saturday, people who have driven hours to get here to be a part of this conversation. So you got people from, I know Iowa, obviously, in Des Moines and all parts of and around the area, but you got people here from Minneapolis. You got people, hey, I met some Minneapolis folk here, right? You got people here from Ferguson. I'm blown away by that. St. Louis County, you know. Anybody here from Flint, Michigan? Anybody here from Michigan at all? All right? You know, guys, it's great to see you here. And I mentioned Flint because Flint is the latest example of government miscredence and the way in which the government acted to the challenges of poor people who simply wanted to drink water from their local tap. That whole community has been poisoned by government inaction, okay? And so I was blown away when I saw everybody here. So let me make, look, I got 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna be real quick. First of all, what really hit me was the racial diversity in this room. There is an extraordinary array of people from every community in our country who are assembled here this morning, from every religious group. I want to single out our friends who may be Muslim, because the attacks that are being waged on Muslims in our country are unfair, they are pernicious, and they are beneath who we are as Americans. So we're not going to do that. And I saw a woman last night get escorted out of a Donald Trump event in South Carolina because she simply had the audacity to stand up. Stood up just to be recognized, and they escorted her out and subjected her to all kinds of vile name calling, and it was just awful. And we're not going to do that. And we're going to stop that here, and it stops with us. So that's number one. The second point I want to make is this. We're going to go through a lot today. A lot of information will be shared. A lot of important studies and research will be communicated. You'll be armed with new information that you can take back to your communities to talk about what has to be done to help create investment that provides the basis for jobs where you are. So that's going to be really important. But the most important thing that comes out of this is, guys, if we don't use this information towards some political objective, so towards some concrete objective, then this is a waste of time. It may be a good feeling, you may leave here all pumped up, but if you don't go back and vote, It's a waste of your time. If you don't vote, you don't count. If you don't vote, you don't count. And every vote that you don't cast is a vote in favor of your opposition. So the truth is, this doesn't amount to a real event that is worthy of being recorded unless people leave here motivated to vote. Now, having said that, guys, we got a lot of challenges ahead of us, all right? You know, yesterday, the government issued some new jobs numbers, and they look good on the surface. 292,000 jobs created in December, 50,000 more jobs than we had had in the previous month. Unemployment at 5% for the second month in a row. That sounds great, but I don't know about you. A lot of that passed over my community, okay? A lot of that passed over my community where I live, and I live in D.C. I live in the nation's capital, but I live in the same neighborhood that I grew up in. And I look around, and I see people who are not working and who have no prospect of getting jobs. People who have been out of work for a minimum of 6 months that won't be able to find a job because they don't have the skill set that is needed to get jobs in their communities. I look at women who are over 50. Look, hey guys, I'm over 50, okay? So this ain't an ageist comment, but I look at women over 50, and why do I focus on them? Because the Federal Reserve of St. Louis just issued a report that said women who are over 50 have virtually no chance of getting a job. That's the truth. And I said, oh, wow, that's ugly. But unless you really step up and target your effort, that's not going to work. I look at people talking about how well the economy is, improving, and there is a substantial percentage of people who are chronically unemployed and a family of 4 living on less than $3,000 a year, guys. That's $2 a day for people in these families, and I'm saying, oh no, we'll never make it. So we got a lot of statistics out here, but they are misleading, because they imply that the recovery to this terrible economic problem that we've had is going to be uniform in its application, and that by raising jobs and improving jobs in general, you lift all boats. That's not the way the world works, guys. We have to recognize that our interests are not going to be served by some sort of generalized recovery. We're going to need targeted effort that is intended to make sure that policymakers and elected officials, 2 of whom you're going to meet this afternoon, I gather, presidential candidates who are coming. That's a big deal, guys. And they wouldn't be coming if it were not important to speak to you. You know, you are the heartland of America. And we often joke about that, okay? We do. You're the heartland of America, guys. I mean, when we think about, America, too many of us think in terms of the 2 coasts. You got the East Coast, you got the West Coast, and everything in between is just a blur. But for those who live here, you know that making a life is important to you and to your kids. And if you don't improve the quality that's available, I got 1 minute, guys, damn. So, the truth is, it's hard. I understand, sister, I'm gonna follow that. But here's what I would say, guys. A lot of what we try to do at the leadership conference is to connect the dots. You're not going to be able to improve our circumstance unless we have a comprehensive campaign that tackles the quality of education available to us, that tackles the quality of justice that we receive, that tackles abusive police practices in their communities, that recognizes that targeted assistance is necessary in order to really have an impact on the quality of life that we experience. And unless we are lifting that concept up and making it real, we're not going to succeed. So I'm going to close out. I know I had 1 minute. I hope I get a chance in the course of the day to do 2 things. One, I want to acknowledge my 2 staff assistants and colleagues who are here, Jordan Bussey and Sergio Lopez. Guys, raise your hands, because I want people to know that we came prepared to work. We came prepared to work, You know, as they say, I'm not just a show horse. I work too, you know. So the bottom line is we got teams here who are participating with you for the course of the day. Secondly, if nothing else, I just want to make sure that you leave committed to use the power that you have with the vote to make sure that our voices are heard and amplified in the halls of power. Because, guys, we have the power in this room to change the circumstances that affect our lives. And if you can't do that, then go home. Go home. Because we need that. We need that. And so I'm going to end like Cherie ended, okay? She ended with a chant. I want you to support my chant. Fired up and ready to go. Fired up and ready to go. Fired up and ready to go. Guys, thank you, and thanks for coming out, and thanks for being committed to make this project work. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Next up will be the Executive Director of the National People's Action. Hey, how many in here, raise your hand if you've been to an NPA convention? Hey, aren't those the greatest direct actions you've ever been involved in? Okay, I digress. Next up, Executive Director, Mr. George Gold, National People's Action.
Thank you. Good morning. You all noticed Wade was concerned if he was going over time. When you're a speaker, a lot of times they have a little placard in front that tells you have 2 minutes, 1 minute. Here they have paddles in front. So I think that's going to lead to some speaker discipline this morning. So my name's George Gale. I'm the Director of National People's Action. I grew up in southern Indiana, first in Seymour, the home of John Cougar Mellencamp. Later in a little town called Medora. It was a town of 800 people. Lived across the road from the landfill and next to the area lumberjack, Otis and Flossie. We had to drive 40 miles to get to a town of 20,000 people. It was pretty isolated country. Today, Medora is a story of disinvestment in America, and particularly disinvestment in rural America. NAFTA, globalization, automation, and powerful economic forces have left Medora just a shell of what it used to be. A third of the people have left. The two major employers have moved out of the country, and that's been replaced by meth labs. Later in life, I moved to Chicago to organize. And one of the places I organized was on the west side of Chicago in an African-American neighborhood called Austin, one of the poorer communities in the city of Chicago and actually across the country. And we were fighting predatory lending. Got to work with amazing organizers and activists like Reverend Elizabeth Bynum and George Lawson and Norris Boston. But like many black neighborhoods in this country, disinvestment was not new. But right now, Austin is facing harder times than ever. If you walk down the street, you see foreclosed properties, boarded up storefronts, payday lending shops everywhere, and high unemployment rates. But the median incomes in Austin and Medora are actually identical. But there are stark differences. Mothers in Medora may worry about their kids getting arrested, but they don't worry about them getting killed by the police. White kids in Medora are not being murdered by police officers. And I could go on and on about the differences. But I share all of this because despite the differences, Medora and Austin represent a clear through line in American political life. A significant disinvestment in people in place, urban and rural, and ones that we as a movement too often fail to connect. This disinvestment, it's not an accident. It's actually strategic. The Japanese poet Mizuta Masahida once wrote, "The barn's burnt down, now I can see the moon." The barn's burnt down, and now I can see the moon. Well, the financial crisis of 2008 did many things, but one of them was burning down the barn. Except what we got to see was not a bright, lovely moon, but instead, much of the country saw what many of us have seen our whole lives, an economic system that is both dangerous and destructive. So conservatives proudly embrace capitalism, a system that sorts out winners and losers. This isn't something they're ashamed of, it's something they're proud of. But today's capitalism is extreme. It is actually radical, producing a tiny fraction of winners and pushing the rest of us to the sidelines. Everybody in this room, though, knows inequality is not new. America was built on inequality. Slavery helped build America. So let's be clear. What's new is that it's now a national conversation and politicians from both parties are talking about it. But lately it feels like it's gotten reduced to stats, graphs, pie charts, and taken the human story out of what's happening. And I think inequality at the extremes, which really means poverty, it pushes people to the margins of our society. It actually erases people from public consciousness. And that's the case whether it's in Medora, Indiana, or Austin and Chicago. So what do we do? Where do we go from here? I think it's clear that now is not a time to tinker. Now is not a time to go back to the good old days or to fight for crumbs at the end of the table. I think now is a time to go big or go home. And I say that because if we lower our expectations, if we lower our sights because times are hard, we've already lost. We should raise the white flag, and we can't do that. So I say let's set our sights high, set it long term, and make sure what we fight for is structural and systemic. So I would say we want an absolute end to structural racism and gender inequality in this country. That corporations must serve the common good or they should not exist. We need to create deep democracy. We do not have a democracy. Let's be clear, we do not have a democracy now. We need deep democracy at all levels of government that move everyday people in and move the big money out. And finally, saving our planet. Combating climate change is not extra credit in what we do. It actually has to be a defining feature of our movement moving forward. Climate change is not an environmental issue only, it is actually a human issue, and we have to prioritize it. But to win things this big, to create this level of change, we need a new mindset. We have to move from fighting for the things that we can win to fighting for the things that we need to win. That is a big shift in how we operate. We are not in the business of winning the best thing possible in the existing politics. We're in the business of transforming what's possible in America. So, to transform what's possible, I think we need to do this. We need to expose the lies of corporate CEOs and racist politicians and tell a new American story, and that story is called the truth. Because we are not only in a battle on the issues that we care about, but we are ultimately in a battle of ideas and values and for the soul of America. We all, every one of us, has a responsibility to expose and fight racism that violently oppresses people. Okay? And we must expose a racism that seeks to divide and conquer us. That actually keeps Medora and Austin, keeps people white, black, Latino, Asian, young and old from building a powerful enough coalition to kick the fat cats to the curb, to take power and rewrite the rules. And in doing that, it's one thing to say it, but to do it, everybody in this room, everybody in our movement has to be equally committed, 100% committed to both of these two things, to challenging corporate power and dismantling structural racism, because you cannot win one without the other. Elections can happen to us or for us. We refuse to let politics anymore be about a lesser of two evils, and that's why we need to inspire a bottom-up politics that is driven by everyday people, with thousands of everyday people saying, I'm done waiting for you to lead, I'm going to lead, I'm going to run for office, and I'm going to enter politics. And I'll close with this. Friends, we found the culprit. We found the enemy. And it's not us. We are up against systems of extreme capitalism and structural racism that are both designed to sort out who wins and who loses. Systems created by and maintained by privileged people who want to hold power. But remember this, systems can be built and they can be dismantled. I say today, let's let the dismantling begin. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Okay, here comes the less than dynamic part of my program, housekeeping, because we want to get this day rolling. There are going to be 2 sessions of workshops this morning. There's lots of good choices. You will make one choice for each session. The first session begins, if you take a look at your programs, first session begins at 9:55 and runs into 10:50. And then the second session starts at 11 and will run until 11:55. So you need to choose one session to go to, or one workshop in each session. There are bathrooms on each floor. There's lots of staff, there's lots of help around here. If you're not sure where to go or if you need direction, please ask. There's a lot of CCI staff and other folks that are going to be out and about to help direct you. There are 2 elevators, so try to fill the elevators. If you are capable of using stairs, use stairs, but fill up those elevators before you push the button so that we can move people quickly. Lunch begins at 12:35, and lunch will be served on 2 floors, on the 1st floor and the 5th floor. So please remember that. Again, you've been a great audience, a great group of people. I think that the power that's been generated in this room should be flowing through your blood, and we hope that it all transpires into some really good action. So I'm going to dismiss you at this point so that you can head off to your workshops and have a great morning, and we'll see you this afternoon.